Jackson gave me the news of a planet far away. And Colonel O'Neill will assemble a team that will try to save the day. Dr. Sam has a master plan and a science attitude. And the job for Teal, he's part of the deal with his trusty go-out. It's just a regular day at Stargate Command, and it might be hard to understand.
SG-1 encoded. SG-2 encoded. SG-3 encoded. SG-4 encoded. Oh no, this is gonna happen. SG-5 encoded. SG-6 encoded. SG-7 what? We are saving the world.
Welcome back, everyone. We are back for a very mid episode. Your co-fry, Sarah.
I'm your co-fry, Christina.
And I'm your co-fry, Wells.
Yes, the time has passed. The bangers have subsided for now.
For now.
And we're on
Maybe
to
just like a couple episodes down the road, and we'll be back in it.
yeah.
We will be.
So it's been a minute.
Yeah. Mid-late May, I think. Yeah.
Lots of things happening. And
Yeah.
we can discuss that all in the fry box.
Let's jump in there.
Short, 'cause we're 3 fry short.
So I have not had anything really going on in my life. Just more of the same, you know. So
Just
all of you
vibing,
guys, yeah,
vibing with your crispy DCs and
resting, drinking tons of crispy DCs,
working
Diet
out,
Coke, if nobody knows. What that is.
weltering.
Yeah, it's fucking hot, man.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Yeah.
Dying. So, but you
mean-
guys have been busy bees.
Don't sell yourself short. You've been like literally kicking some butt and like doing some stuff. So don't. But stability is nice.
Not really. Yeah.
No. Well, I'm conveniently sitting in front of a stack of boxes.
Love it.
Because I am still in my slow process of unpacking. So I am in my new place with my kiddo, and we've moved. So yeah, it's I'll say not a ton more about that right now, but very happy to be closer to family. It's been a bit chaotic trying to get everything upheaval. Ryder and I took the cats on an airplane, and that was an adventure. So happy to be back on a routine at this point, though.
I have a question for you because I saw a TikTok video about someone taking their cats on an airplane, and when you went through security, you had to take them out of the carrier. Is that accurate? Oh, so like you just hold in little Scary and Tux.
Oh, yeah. And
did you do it separate, or did Ryder help and carry one? Or
so there's two options. They can actually take you to a secure screening room if you have a fear that your animal will run or do
my next
something.
question was.
Yeah, so they can go there, but they did great. We gave it a trial run. They were so terrified and kind of mildly drugged up that they were just lumps going through. But yeah, Ryder carried Scary through because that's a little bit more the right weight capacity.
Pretty fucking huge.
Yeah, he's pretty big.
I'm wondering too if they have a protocol for like an escaped cat, like that escapes.
They have to.
Like what the protocol is.
I think I've seen a TikTok of a cat on the lam in the airport before.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh no.
Oh,
we've all seen them on the planes too, where they got out and then there's just chaos. Bonnie, that would have been the most nightmarish flight for Bonnie ever.
Aww.
Like a cat got out on an airplane.
Oh no. You really do learn how a lot of people are extremely petrified. And we had to be really mindful of that because a lot of people would be fine. Most people were like, oh my gosh, I want to be best friends. But there were some people who were absolutely like not wanting to be anywhere nearby. And we were flying Southwest. So they were like, people were like, I don't want to end up having to sit by you guys. I'm like, that's great. We'll sit by yourselves. Sorry. Yeah. You just like assume people love animals, but you have to also make space for a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And that's okay
I've
too.
had people really terrified of Jasper or Boo before when I've had them, on a leash out in public or whatever. And it's just how everybody, grew up and experiences they had and everything.
Oh God, yeah. I don't blame anyone. I got attacked by a cat and have arthritis in my finger because of
Oh my God.
a bad attack, but it didn't stop me. Crazy over here. But anyway, that's me. Wells.
Yeah. So Pride Month started. I immediately went on a really long trip. I spent with Bonnie. We spent 4 days in Seattle, 3 days in Vancouver, and then a 10-day cruise. So we were gone from June 2nd through the 20th. And then we came back, and I decided to ring out Pride this year with a bang. And we, partially because of the non-binary panel that we had on the companion, which I think hopefully, and I've gotten emails already from people that said, thank you so much for that interview. It really, it was very informative, or it made me feel like I wasn't alone. So that was really awesome. But it also just made me kind of reevaluate like my reasonings for doing things or not doing things in my own journey. And finally decided to like give it a full go and do the things that I always thought like I wasn't allowed to do, at my age or this or that. So we're going with Wells, and it's pretty known to everybody, out there at this point. Everything at the companion has changed over. My email has changed over.
Nice.
So it's very cool feeling. I've received lovely messages from people.
Aww.
Including Amanda. Amanda was super, super, super sweet about it.
Queen of our heart.
Yep. And the reason I even reached out to her about it was because of I guess the other really big Frybox thing, which is where we're going to be at the end of July. So that kind of rolls right into that. But anyway, yes, Rebecca wasn't fired. Rebecca just turned into Wells. So there's that. And I don't know, I've been thinking a lot about, if anybody out there knows Eddie Izzard, or formerly Eddie Izzard, who's now Susie Eddie Izzard, who is she, her pronouns. Was he, him throughout all of the, stand-up routines that I know and love her for. But when she came out with the new name, like last year at some point, she was like, Susie's my name. Like, I would prefer if you use it. If you use Eddie, I'm not going to be super mad. And I just really like appreciated the way that she kind of presented that. So I thought about that a lot too, in my own like evaluation of how I feel about Rebecca versus Wells and things like that too. So yeah, it's been it's going to continue to be a cool experience. And I've already fucked up about 50% of the time when I introduce myself, in spaces where I feel like I'm safe to use, Wells, but, like last night, I introduced myself originally as Rebecca, and I was like, "Wait, shit, no." Like it's that still, but
well, yeah, it's like 40 plus years of going by one name, and switching that up.
Yeah, it's like it makes me feel really euphoric when it happens, though, and when people use it, and like people that said bye to me last night where I was, they said bye Wells, and that like it felt really cool. But yeah, it's tricky to get used to.
Yeah, it is. I think, how does it make you feel about, I know a lot of people have this, I don't know if anxiety is the right word, but because, we all want to get it right. Right. But like giving grace for when it's like difficult, like, I think how does it make you feel sharing that, like you yourself, like name yourself sometimes, and that like sharing that, like how important is that to you to like make sure people have an awareness too? Because I don't know that people always share that part of it when they talk about changing their name.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important to give everyone grace with, as long as, the people that are embracing of it and accepting of it and encouraging of it and celebrating it, and those people are not the people that are trying to do something malicious. And hopefully you look at yourself that way too. I don't know, like I don't want to have and I don't think I'm in a position to have a bad relationship with my other name, like I don't think I'm in that position. And I think that's totally fine then. Like I know like Bonnie's still gonna call me Rebecca, and that's fine. Like I'm okay with that. It's she's almost 80 years old, you know. And my family that I just saw, they're not gonna be understanding of the whole
Yeah.
of
Which is
anything about my
unfortunate.
identity anyway. So it's like they don't get that secret password, that
Yeah.
password that is like Wells, you know, like they don't get that
Right.
anyway. But yeah, when it comes to yourself, I don't know, there's almost like some guilt back and forth too about it.
Hmm.
Like, oh, am I just tossing this name away? Like what, you know, like there's some of that too, which is really
Mm.
interesting and it's really weird. And like I'm still exploring where all of that is coming from, you know? Like
Yeah.
I'm not there yet with it, or I haven't figured that out yet. But you know, it's a journey. I think MJ put it best in that non-binary panel when they were like, I think we all just need to be looser and more accepting and just more exploratory and just
Mm-hmm.
swim in the gender pool and like
Mm-hmm.
not get so pin up one way or the other about it. And like, you know, I think that's true, you know? So I'm trying to look at it that way with myself too.
Cool.
That's great.
I mean, I know like when we were in the UK, just like even talking to you, like we would slip up in conversation and say she, oh wait, they, like we would do it mid conversation. It wasn't ever like we said she and didn't catch ourselves right
Mhm,
away.
mhm.
So like it's still a learning process and like
I think it's just retraining the like
yeah,
tail.
it's just yeah.
I think it needs to go both ways. You need to show grace when you're the person who is the one being
Mm-hmm.
misgendered potentially. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you're the one that does that, slips up and doesn't catch yourself, know that if you're being corrected, then
Mm-hmm.
the person has determined that you're important enough to them to correct you. And
Yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
not out of a mean space, because if somebody I don't give a shit about misgenders me or whatever, I don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Because well, I don't care about you anyway. Like
Yeah.
you don't deserve my energy, you know? So like if I'm correcting you, just know that it's because I care about you enough and I respect you enough to correct you. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
out of a place of malice or like mean spirited or anything.
Like
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
No,
Cool.
no.
And
I
then
feel
I
very
think
honored. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Christina.
I'm gonna say I just feel really honored that like we get to experience this with you and just like that you've come to this place and we get to witness it because
Oh,
it's really fucking cool.
I don't think it would have happened without you two.
Hmm.
Like,
Oh.
like know that. Like, I literally don't think that I would be in the same place with it without like this space and everything that has come from this space and all the conversations and you know all the everything. So just know that about the two of you too. It's pretty special.
Love that.
Love it. Okay, I'm gonna cry, but I don't want to cry.
No, I don't want to make you.
No,
Let's
okay,
talk about
okay.
let's talk about the other.
Let's go to the episode. Okay, let's go.
Well, we got to quickly talk about short leave, which we're
Oh,
going
yeah.
to. In like 2.5 weeks, we're heading up. Christina.
Yeah.
Dang.
Short
Yeah,
leave
that's
in
soon.
good old Lancaster, PA.
I gotta clean my apartment.
We're crashing with Sarah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll be there the whole weekend. We're super excited. We have a panel. It is on Sunday at Shore
Yep.
Leave. I found this out. It is Sunday at noon.
Oh, okay.
And
nice.
it's 50 minutes long. So we get more time than we get in
Oh,
Daisy
hell
Step.
yeah.
Nice.
Which is good because we will have Terrell on the panel as well. So it's going to be Terrell and Amanda and Lawrence, who's coming over last minute edition.
Hopping across the pond.
Love it.
Yep.
I can pay him his money in person that I owe.
Same.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lawrence. I owe you after all the things. I was like, oh, I got moved and I forgot. And I'm like, at this point, unless he needs it ahead of time, I'm like,
oh no, I think it's probably companion money anyway. So like it'll help pay for, you know, getting
Your
him
paycheck.
over this time. And yes, I can get paid again, you know.
okay.
But yeah, no, I think it'll be good. I'm excited that Lawrence is coming over because we are doing not only the book, but now we're making these really cool enamel pins.
Those are
Which
cool.
we will hopefully, we were told by the manufacturer that we will have some at Shore Leave.
Okay.
But yeah, they're really exciting, and the goal is to get that in front of as many people, and to get the book, obviously, in front of as many people. And I've been told that our table is very close to Amanda and Terrell. So it'll make it a lot easier, I think, with the whole will people want to buy book plates, like pre-order the book there or not, and things like that. If we're like literally right there, like Amanda could be like, oh, you can get one like right over there. Like
what a difference!
Point everybody, yeah.
And just sort of having like a table in the back of the food hall, like
yeah.
Having
there was something great. The bad thing about it is we managed to get that table that had 3 walls, so it felt like a very like safe place that people could come sit. And I don't think we'll have quite that, but we will have other advantages instead. And we'll figure it out. And I think Lawrence being there means we can split the strategy a little bit more, and I think that'll be helpful too.
It's gonna feel like I'm the cool kid in the cafeteria at the cool kid table.
Yeah.
Very, very. I'm excited to have you guys here. You guys already know, like, I made my notes list of like restaurants for us to go to, the directions of how long it takes to get to places. I'm ready. I just need to clean my apartment so that you don't think I'm a slob.
I mean,
I'm excited.
Wells, you're the one night you have to stay here. You're going to get what you're going to get. You're going to get Writer's LED bed.
I'm so looking forward to it. But like literally, I'm getting no sleep. Just like changing the lights. You may have to come in and take the remote away from me.
Well, because there's a projector for the ceiling too.
Oh God!
And then the bed.
It's like,
it's like a galaxy. It's like a spaceship in the galaxy, just floating along. It's amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, and we definitely have to try to make time to do like a podcast live something when we're all together.
Must do that.
Hi, Kitty.
I think that'll be more possible this time.
Yeah,
I say that. I just can't imagine. I mean, Shore Leave's been around for a while, and the attendance numbers look similar to Basingstoke.
Really?
Good.
Yeah.
I never heard of this.
They've sold 1,200 tickets so far, roughly.
Nice.
And they're expecting to get at least up to 1,500 at the door, but they're planning for more than 1,200, which is already sounding better than the situation. And I'd never seen an autograph system like that outside of Basingstoke anyway. And I guess maybe it's a UK thing. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Shore Leave will be kind of standard what I'm used to with autograph areas. So I can't imagine you're going to run into the same issues.
No,
there will be AC.
Amanda's pretty much the headliner anyway. Like Amanda and Todd Stashwick are the two, I'd say, biggest names that are going to be there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So good panel turnout. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, it should be really, really good. And I know quite a few companion members are going to be there again. So it's really exciting. Some new faces and some old faces that we saw at Basingstoke too.
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love it. Okay.
All right. We ready to do this episode?
Yeah, let's get into this very mid episode.
Oh, I will say to everyone live in the comments, if you have questions or comments or anything, make sure you say things in the comments, and we will check them after we get through our rundown of the episode.
Oh yes. Oh, I see some friends popping in.
We got some other friends in there, so now it was a good time to be like, hey, if you got questions or comments, we will go through them later.
Yeah,
later.
Cool.
Yes.
So we're talking about season 4, episode 7, titled Watergate. Before we get into, I just love how my cat is like making her way around.
Yeah, she's in the
because this desk like runs the whole like perimeter of.
I love her so much.
Anyway,
she's just chilling back there right now.
She is.
I love
so
it.
before we get into like our episode breakdown walkthrough, what are our thoughts on this episode? It was okay.
Like I said before, when I watched it again today to be really fresh on it, I liked it more than I remembered liking it, but that doesn't really mean a lot. It just means, it wasn't as like whack whack as I remembered it being. There are some like really fun moments in it. I think. But overall, and it's another one of those that just leaves you like with no denouement whatsoever at the end.
Yeah,
which drives me crazy every time. Just like,
I hope you're hungry for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, great guest star though.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I think there are some really good things about the episode, but in general, and it's got to be also just coming off a window of opportunity. Like
It's hard to beat that.
it's hard. You got to come straight off of that, and then you're like, what do you follow that up with? Maybe that was intentional on their part too. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think it was just very foundation building. It was another like opening of a doorway that we're gonna later walk through. So it was very strategic. So I think it's hard if you're doing a strategic episode to sometimes also add more to it. I think they did a good job telling like the deep rootedness, I guess, of like how the storyline kind of got started. It was a little bit felt more like, instead of just like, oh, this happened with no explanation, it felt like here's how it happened and the impact of it. It was like a little bit of like, like putting some roots down into that dynamic.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing exciting, but fundamental at best.
I do like that it is like an adventure from Earth per se, instead of like, oh my god, something's going on another planet, which there kind of is, but it mostly takes place on Earth. And those episodes are always kind of fun and interesting in their own way. But beyond that, I think I just have like a kind of meh feeling about this episode, because you're right, Wells, how it comes off of such fucking good episodes, and I was getting so much shippiness, and then they cut us off. What the fuck?
You get one little crumb in this episode, one singular crumb, which I did put in the notes at the moment. But yeah, that's all you get. That's all you get.
Yeah. So maybe I'm just like bitter about that, where it's like, oh, okay, back to work, I guess. Hi ho, hi ho. Like,
I think you just to the edge. They're edging you, right? And then they're like,
nope, you don't get it. No, this is truly, in Sarah, your world, this is truly just a romance show with sci-fi behind it. I think this is what your desire for it to be.
Maybe. I don't know. Because if it was all about that, then I'd get bored. I don't know.
That's fair.
Like,
it is just such a good ship. It is blend. A good ship.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get into it. We open our episode with SG-1 getting ready to embark, and it appears that they're scoping out a new planet to like rehome some refugees. I forget what name they mentioned, but they're like, oh, we got to make sure it's good and ready for the blah blah people. But when Walter dials out, the 7th chevron won't lock. And there's no issues on his end. He's like, it wasn't fucking me, okay? I'm sorry, but it wasn't me.
Like Gary's face, like, I don't know. Like,
you
almost get a little hint of comedy feel, just a tad. Like,
don't hurt me. It wasn't my fault.
Wasn't me.
Cut to the control room. We can tell some time has passed, because like Sam was like, this is going to be a while. So cut to whatever a while later is. According to Sam, there was an energy spike in the power log about 8 minutes before they first tried to dial out. If we recall back to Solitudes, this happens when there's another Stargate being used on Earth. Now, the SGC is still under the impression that the other Stargate was destroyed at the end of season 3 when Thor's ship crashed into the Pacific. However, we learn that Stargates are not that easily destroyed. But if there was another gate and its use was responsible for the energy spike, they might be able to like locate it with seismic activity, tremors, graboids, that kind of thing. Like when they found the gate in Antarctica. And Walter finds it. The corresponding seismic tremor happened in Siberia. The Russians have a Stargate.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, the Russians.
So we get our opening credits.
They do.
And we cut to the briefing room.
A very film noir briefing room, too.
Like, oh my god, it was so
dark.
The lighting in this episode is wild. I already made a joke. I'll wait till we get to it. But yeah, the lighting was pretty wild.
Yeah, I've started noticing it more in certain episodes when the briefing room is like super bright, the way a briefing room would be. And when it's dark for no reason, like nobody's presenting anything, so there's no reason for the lights to be cut. They just are. Like,
it's just this ominous topic is about to unfold. We need it for dramatic effect because there's nothing else dramatic happening.
I mean, I'm sure it's based on the director, of course. Like that would make a lot of sense. And Martin Wood directed this one, so now I'm going to start tracking Martin Wood's. Which he directed a lot of episodes and like a ton of Sanctuary. but I'm curious to see like how often his specifically have like really dramatic briefing room lighting.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was like somebody had a migraine that day. Can we not like have the bright light?
Yeah.
Let's just
Cut
tone
the
the light
main.
down. Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah. So Hammond confirms that it was the Russians who recovered the Stargate from the bottom of the ocean, and the jig is up. Russians, we are onto you. But the Russians know quite a bit about the SGC, and they clearly have gotten a program up and running. The problem is they aren't sure why the gate won't shut down. For all intents and purposes, a wormhole should not be able to remain open for more than 38 minutes. That has been established. And if it was a black hole situation, we would have detected the gravitational pull. So what the fuck? What's going on? So we have some dialogue. It's Hammond, Carter, O'Neill, and one Daniel. So I'll grab my O'Neill.
I'll grab Carter.
all right, I can do Hammy Daniel.
You hand me
Excellent.
Daniel.
Also, if we ever have dialogue with Deanna Troi, let's save everyone the pain and not do a Russian accent. We don't have to do that.
You don't want my terrible Russian accent?
No.
I feel like Wells, you could do it. But yeah, no,
I mean,
we
I
don't
took
need
a
to do it.
semester of Russian, but that doesn't mean I have an accent. But
No, we're not gonna do it. All right. O'Neill, Carter, Daniel. Oh, wait, that's you saying
That's
you saying
me.
who's in it.
Prepping, yes.
Oh, that's confusing me. Hold on. Well, that confuses me.
It's easier this way because then we don't have to be like, who's in this?
Oh, it just because
scene?
it was like I just put a space between it. My ADHD can't okay, now I can see it. All right. I'm sorry. Reading is tough for me. The Russian government is divided on how to deal with the situation. It seems the Russian president didn't support setting up a Stargate program in the first place. Until we called, they were planning on bombing the facility and covering the whole thing up.
And now?
One of the Russian scientists involved in starting the program convinced them to send in a team to assess the situation and determine if it can be resolved in another way.
who's the scientist?
Dr. Svetlana Markov. I don't know how to say that with
You're
a
right.
southern accent.
yeah.
No, with a southern accent. I was trying to do it. Hammy.
Wow, I know her work. She's brilliant.
She knows about you too, Major. To that end, she's convinced Moscow to let SG-1 be the team that goes to Siberia.
You're kidding.
Jack, I'm thankful they're smart enough to realize that this has global implications and that you are the foremost experts on the Stargate.
General, we'd be walking into an unknown situation to save their rosy butts.
Daniel says, we can't use our Stargate until they get theirs shut down.
Not to mention the potential danger of having an open wormhole between Earth and who knows where.
You'll rendezvous with Dr. Markov in Russia and proceed to the base from there.
So we learn a couple of really important things in this bit of exposition. One, the Russians set this program up against the wishes of many important of their government officials.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of their government, and we learn more about this later, but this is very interesting kind of plot backstory that gives us more context between like Earth and our neighboring nations and like what the okay, the SGC, the Stargate program is known to at least Russia, so it's probably known to other people at this point. What are their thoughts about it? Like, I can understand how they would be pissed off. They're like, what gives you the right? This was found in Egypt and you just took it and now you're doing stuff. Like, this isn't just the United States. This has an effect on the whole world. Like, if the Gould Mothership comes, they're not just going to wipe you guys out. We're all at risk. So I can see how, like, it would piss other people off 100%. The United States in this show has very main character energy syndrome. Like, they think we're the best and who cares what other people think and we're gonna do what we want. Fuck you all.
Well, the fact that they're like, well, them having it has global implications and da da da.
So you having it.
So do we. Yeah. Like, okay. Shouldn't, like, anyway.
But yeah, it kind of like gives us O'Neill is pissed off from the start and he kind of implies like, oh, now we got to go save them. Like, as if you couldn't have used a hand or two being saved from things that you fucked up. Like, it's mostly luck that they have been able to pull some crazy solution out at the last minute, the 11th hour, and save the world. So I can understand why other countries would have a hair up their ass about this.
Well, I think it's just Mayborn finding another way to try to get access to this shit because he couldn't do it with his old plan. So
That's true.
let's try Russia.
Yeah. It's Mayborn messing around with global politics to try to get what
this is a
looking for.
Mayborn thing.
Yeah.
I think it was Mayborn like sniffing around who can be the next person that will buy onto it, which makes sense as to why the government of Russia was like, no, we're not going after this, but there's still some like people that would do it regardless.
Yeah.
Mayborn.
So
puppeteering.
Yeah. So O'Neill is already annoyed at the situation. Cut to the airfield. We meet up with Dr. Markov, who is also Deanna Troi. How do you pronounce her name? Marina
Sirtis.
Sirtis. And she knows a lot about the SGC and SG-1. She's read files on all of them. And this is a pretty funny bit of dialogue. There is some like pretty smart humor in this episode because Sam is like, how do you know about the SGC? And Markov is like, I've read files about all of you. And Jack is like, okay, the question was how? And she says, I learned to read English at the age of 6. It wasn't hard. So she's like evading their question. She's not telling them how she got access to it. So I thought it was very smart. Yeah, it was pretty smart. So they board the plane and they take off. And Markov goes over how she was brought into the situation when Russia detected Thor's ship in satellite. And now the Russians recovered the Stargate. So again, going back to the end of season 3, Nemesis, Thor's ship crashes into Earth. The Russian government detected that ship in orbit on their satellites. And that's how they were aware of the situation. She also alludes to the incident with the replicators boarding the Russian sub, but O'Neill very flatly is like, I don't know what you're talking about. Not a clue. He knows exactly what happened. So Markov was assigned to the program as chief science officer after they recovered the Stargate from the bottom of the ocean floor. And she was second in command to Colonel Sarkalov. Yeah.
Sarkalov.
They had the program up and running for 37 days against the wishes of many people in the Russian government. The Russian government officials threatened to expose the U.S. Stargate program in an attempt to get us to share our toys with them. But Markov convinced the military that they could benefit from their own program more than they could trust us, which this is like one of the most interesting parts to me. The Russian government wasn't going to start their own program. They were going to be like, no, let's expose the US, and that'll force their hand to share their knowledge and information with us because we're bringing all the other world's nations into this fold. Let's expose them. But Markov was like, no, fuck them. We can't trust them. Let's do our own thing. And I honestly get it, girl boss into the sun. Like, I understand why they wouldn't trust
the US would have figured out some way to like,
they would have gotten screwed on it.
Yeah, they would have done something to Russia.
Yeah,
nobody would have believed them, or just they would have been discredited.
Yeah, and honestly, we do end up doing that in future episodes when they bring Thor in to be like, no, we like the US and we like Hammy, and you're not allowed. So it stays. Yeah. So like
stays with the US.
Right. The only reason that we have that is because we just had a head start on everybody else. If there was another country that was up and running doing the same thing, who knows? I'm sure they would obviously be painted as like they're the bad guys because they're plundering technology or whatever. But I don't know. Anyway. So Markov reveals the Russians also have a DHD. And it was the one that should have been found in Giza. It was confiscated from Germany after World War II. So the Germans ended up getting it. They stole it from the Germans. So if the Russian gate has a DHD connection, it would become the default gate on Earth. They would simply disconnect the DHD when they weren't using it to prevent any crossover. So no US teams would end up coming through to the Russian side. So this is like, this is like some pretty important like lore about how the Stargate functions, about how other countries are functioning. But but it's important to know, I guess, that if the DHD is connected to a gate, that gate is the default gate you would come home to. So as for the current situation, Markov is in the dark. She doesn't know what's going on, and they lost contact with the base like 12 hours ago. The pilot tells them the runway is frozen and they'll have to jump out and parachute down. So there is
a jump, and Daniel's like, out of the plane.
Yeah.
And then Teal'c just is like,
Teal'c.
no. God.
So another bit of O'Neill dialogue that kind of shows how little patience he has. He says, look, you don't have to tell me what's at stake here. We've got 7 teams off world who can't get home until we fix what you screwed up. So again, he's like, oh my God, these people suck. They don't know what they're doing. And we got to come in and save their asses. And it's like, dude, you like, again, you're suffering from like main character syndrome. And you think, I don't know. I don't have my thoughts fully formed, but I kind of get frustrated with his attitudes when it comes to other countries trying to do what they're doing. It's like, no, only we can do it. Bleh, get away from me. Like, well, this is all mine. No one else can have my toys type of thing. So they gear up to make the jump. Daniel is nervous. Teal'c is just confused. He's like, what the fuck? Like, oh, this is a parachute. He's like, this does not look like this was built for what you're saying it's built for.
And Jack's just like, yeah, just do this, and then just pull this, and you're fine. Joe's like,
yeah. Which, okay. If there was a possibility of them having to parachute down, should they not have gotten like a crash course? Like, I'm sure Jack and Sam and Markov have gotten some kind of training on it, like parachuting down, but like it is a little more complex than just pull the ripcord. Like,
yeah, I mean, Daniel probably has too.
True.
Like, Daniel didn't look like he wasn't going to do it. Daniel looked like he was resigned to his fate by the time that he jumped. Like, he's just like, like, but like they literally hadn't told Teal'c that would have even been a possibility. You know, he had no clue.
Yeah,
poor Hate that.
So there's another piece of dialogue that, again, just kind of reveals the underlying tensions, because Markov is like, you know, I assume you brought hazmat. And Jack is like, yeah, we thought somebody should be prepared. And then Markov looks at Sam and she's like, is he always like this? And Sam is like, actually, this is quite charming for him. Like, you're lucky to see this.
Carter and Markov, like, passing the Bechdel test on this episode. Like, they do not have 1 ounce of beef with each other.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
Like, they're trying to solve the problem, but there's no snarkiness between them, and it's lovely to watch.
I do, you know, I didn't even think of that, but you're totally right. Like, they could have made this fucking, especially after all the shippy episodes that we just had, they could have made it really fucking weird, and I'm glad they didn't. Good job.
Nope. There was no concern about any man in any of their conversations. Period.
That's a really good point.
They were both just like, we're the people that are going to get ourselves out of this mess, you know?
And it's already established, like, before they even meet, that Sam has a lot of respect for her because she's like, oh my God, she's brilliant. I've read her work. She's awesome. And
then Markov says the same about Sam too. Like,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the reason why the Russians were able to get their shit up and running is because of the legwork and the research that Sam has already done. Like, because they have access and knowledge of what they've done already.
Yep.
Right.
Very good point. I did not even think of that. Did not even cross my mind. Which is good that it didn't, because that truly shows there was not an ounce of that energy like there was in, say, 100 days. Between Sam and Lara.
Oh, or anytime what's her face would show up. Freya. You know, like, there was always weirdness. And maybe it wasn't completely, but there was always like this added like stuff. It didn't need to be there, you know?
No.
I wonder how much of that has to do with the fact of who the guest star is. Marina Sirtis. I can't, what the fuck is her last name?
Sirtis.
Yeah, like, because she is a beloved, there is that linked to her being a beloved character from Star Trek. They didn't maybe want to tarnish that with like some schmaltzy bullshit.
And for all we know, there could have been schmaltzy bullshit in there originally, but Marina Sirtis, like, don't take no shit from anybody at this point. And, she like literally doesn't give a shit. She will tell you anything and everything that's in her mind. And sometimes that's bad, but a lot of times it's pretty awesome. So maybe it was on her, like, being, I don't like the way this is written or whatever. But I like to think that it was just smartly done that way.
Yeah. So one by one, they jump out. Teal'c clocks to this does not seem wise.
This does not seem wise, O'Neill.
So he's nervous. Like,
this is like, this is the first of a couple of what I call, like, in the notes section, like the fish out of water situations that are in this episode, or like where specifically Teal'c and Daniel get a few moments where they get to act like other than like their stereotype that they usually are. And so I loved seeing this, like, Teal'c's a warrior, but like when presented with something he has no knowledge of, and it's very dangerous to have no knowledge of it, he's reacting in the right way.
He's brave, but not stupid. Like, he's not just gonna do something without thinking of the repercussions. No matter how much he trusts Jack.
This does not seem wise, O'Neill.
It's not.
So,
can I make a comment before we go to the next part of it? Just because, like, more of how it felt. So, like, once they're down, and obviously, so Teal'c and Daniel are separate from the rest of the group, which bothers me because Jack went down actually last, so he would potentially have had a view of where they were going, but somehow Daniel and Teal'c land first or closer, and they're already in the building by the time the other three get there fine. But what I thought was really interesting is watching that point through probably the next 5 minutes of, like, till they get to where the gate room is, really was a callback to me to a lot of actual, like, PC gaming, and like a lot of first person shooter games, like where you have to enter, you're on a mission, and there's like the story, like, video screens that come up. Just even the way they did the audio, like listening to it, the way that the whole thing played through, it felt like I was in a video game, which I don't know if it ever hits anyone else that way, but it was just kind of a weird, it felt like different. It felt like we had, like, portaled into, like, oh, there's like a game and I'm watching the watch screen, and then, like, at some point I'm going to have to, like, engage again to, like, go battle someone. But it was just a really interesting, the way they, like, moved through the building. And the editing and the lighting felt very much like a game versus a TV show to me. Just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah, I can totally see that too. And, like, looking at the episode again, how it feels kind of like a nothing burger, but it does feel more like solving a mystery type of thing, or like figuring out this one problem. And they do, but that one problem was not very, I don't know, interesting. Like, there wasn't a lot of, like, existential crisis. Oh my God. It was just like, we got to figure this out. And they do. So
it's like they had a lot of really good building blocks for the episode. And things just didn't pan out. It was that might actually also be why it feels like like a letdown. Because there are so many things in it. Could be like that could have made it awesome, or like you have all these things that seem like they would make a really awesome episode, but then for some reason it just doesn't mesh.
I like the fact that I don't like the fact that we don't really learn about the alien creatures. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of just like tossed out at the end. And the more star of this show, I guess, is the Russian scientist and government, and like the Russian plot line is kind of more of the star of this episode, and the aliens are kind of like the B plot almost. So, cut to the base. They all meet up. They start scoping the place out. It's clear that the base was not intended for the Stargate specifically, and all Markov can say is it was an experimental power station. Where I say Chernobyl Part 2. They find many of the base personnel dead, some shot, but others it's unclear how they died. And they get to the gate room to find more dead personnel, and the gate is still running. So they determine the air is safe. They take off their hazmat. Markov is understandably upset because she knew many of the personnel. And then
Can I make a comment about that? It's so funny
Yeah.
because like they take their masks off and she's crying, right?
yeah,
And Sam's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And she's like, "I basically like I fucking knew like all of these people."
yeah,
And then all of a sudden it's like SG-1 and all of the audience goes, "Oh no, like Russians are humans too," like
Mhm.
what? That's what
Like, oh, you can feel things? Oh, we're supposed to be empathetic here?
Yeah, it was that
yeah,
moment of because it's the look on all of their faces. Oh shit, yeah, I guess that's true,
yeah.
Mhm.
You're totally right. And they're not all military. Some of them are scientists.
Mhm.
So it's not just like the evil foreign military. Like
Yeah.
they're
They're
regardless.
evil
Like,
too.
correct. And I'm trying to think in this time, we're in the year 2000 at this point. What were relationships like with Russia in the real world at that time? I don't
I
know.
mean, not great.
No.
Yeah,
I don't think it's been great at all in our lifetime.
No, it hasn't.
true.
No.
It's
So
not Cold War level, but not great,
yeah,
No.
we tolerate each other, I guess. So
Barely.
she also
I mean,
explains
do
that
we?
Colonel's barely. She also explains that the colonel enacted the extreme measures protocol. The Stargate room is sealed and substance 35 is released throughout the base. Substance 35 being nerve gas. But the computer doesn't explain why the protocol was used. Now, okay, they say nerve gas. Like, to me, I don't know what that means. That I just think, like, maybe that incapacitates people, like, make you pass out. Or is it like you're dead
You're
if you
dead.
breathe that in?
you're probably dead.
Okay.
Also, like, it's interesting that it's a nerve gas thing and not just. I guess they couldn't do an auto destruct because then we couldn't have this episode.
Yeah.
But if this had happened at the SGC because they've done it a billion times, they would have set the auto destruct.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and they even said the Russian government wanted to bomb the base
Yeah.
before agreeing to let SG-1 come in. And we all know, or I don't know if we know this at this point, but just because you set the auto destruct does not mean your problem is solved. Like, the wormhole
Right.
can still stay intact. And that was the
Right.
whole reason with, I think it was In a Matter of Time, they could
Mhm.
blow the base up, but that wormhole would still be there and connected to that planet. So
Sucking
Mhm.
the whole Earth
self-destruct,
into a black hole. Yep.
yeah, it does not necessarily solve all the problems. So O'Neill is very annoyed at this. He's like, nerve gas? What the fuck? But it's already evaporated. There's no risk. And we have some dialogue. It's Markov, Carter, and O'Neill. I will get the O'Neill, of course.
I can take Markov since we're not doing accents anyway.
We'll spare the audience.
I'll do one. I'll do one by the end.
Do you want to do it? I can
no,
switch and take
no,
Carter
I
this
don't.
one
I
around.
don't.
No. Okay. Okay.
Not for a whole
Okay.
dialogue. I don't think I could hold on to it for the whole dialogue.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So Markov, it's an outgoing wormhole, but that doesn't make sense. The EM protocol cuts off the dialing device. This protocol was enacted yesterday. Where has the outgoing wormhole been drawing its power from since?
We've seen one drawing power from the source of the destination.
Of course, the black hole incident.
Is there anything you don't know?
And then does something and then says, what were they doing?
She
And
goes
then
to
I
a
get annoyed,
storage
and she gets
device.
annoyed. It's gone. They go look into this like cylinder container. So like she's
Yeah.
looking at something. They like get up and go look, and this like big cylindrical storage thing opens it up, and then that's when she goes, "Oh my god, it's gone."
So Jack says, if I ask you what and you say it's classified, I'm going to shoot you.
The 7th address we successfully dialed led to a Stargate entirely submerged underwater. We sent a reconnaissance drone and found a dialing device, so it was decided that a manned mini-submarine would go next. A sample of the water was retrieved. It seemed to have unbelievable properties.
Like what?
It was spontaneously emitting energy in the form of heat. If this liquid turned out to be an abundant clean energy source.
That doesn't seem possible.
I was called away to Moscow before I could perform any significant analysis.
So now you're saying the water sample is gone,
Yes, there was a sealed container being kept in this containment vessel.
and the Stargate is dialed into the water planet now.
Apparently, but that doesn't make sense. They were supposed to continue on to the next 2 planets on our planned sequence and not revisit the water planet until I got back.
Let's confirm it. Do you have another reconnaissance drone?
We left the first one there. All we have to do is reactivate the receiver.
So we learned that they went to this water planet, water world, and they brought back a sample of this water, and it's now gone. And this water seemed very special. It seemed like it could be a source of energy, but it's gone and we don't know where it is. Meanwhile, Daniel and Teal'c have accounted for 28 of the 47 personnel. 6 of them were civilian, all of them shot, but no apparent reason why. The civilian people were the scientists that were tasked with examining the water.
Right.
Markov begins to show Daniel footage from the drone showing some ruins, but the drone is stuck and she can only pan and tilt the camera. Just then, something comes into view. More of the soldiers dead, floating in the water. This is very ominous, spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Why would the men proceed through the Stargate knowing they would drown on the other side? Why would they do that? Sam theorizes that the drone is what's keeping the gate open. The radio signals being amplified by the special properties of the water. If they shut down the drone, they should be able to shut down the gate. So that's what I'm sorry, I'm distracted. My cat.
Oh, we are too. Don't worry about it.
Hi, Luna.
So Sam is saying, okay, there has to be drawing power from something. It's not the DHD. What if the drone on the other side that's producing some kind of energy is being amplified by this special fancy water, and that's what's feeding the gate the energy to stay open? So like we just got to go through, we shut down the drone, we shut down the drone, and then problem solved. But of course, it's malfunctioning, and Markov is unable to shut it down. And as if things couldn't get any worse, the drone is nuclear powered and will last up to 10 years. They intended to leave it on other planets for long-term observation. Q O'Neill being pissed off even more. He's like, that thing's a nuke. Like, what the fuck? Come on, people. Like,
but if it was the US, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's a great plan.
So we can do whatever we want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they make Naquita generators now. So
Correct.
In the Stargate world. So of course, that's safe. That's safe energy, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, cut to Markov preparing another submersible. They intend to take this one through the gate, power down the drone that way. So we had this interested me. Like, I didn't understand how to read it. I found a piece of trivia that might help decode it. But O'Neill asks, how many people does that thing hold? And Markov is like 3. So Sam is already going. Daniel is already going. And
yeah,
Jack
Daniel says right before this, hey, I'd like to get a closer look at those ruins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And O'Neill says sarcastically, oh, darn, I've never been in a submarine before. So I don't know if this was his way of saying, I'm not fucking going. You need to go, Russian lady. Like, you need to put your skin, like your rear end on the line here. We're not just sending my people through.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I read it. I don't know. How did you guys read that line?
Oh,
I think Markov had to go through.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that too, because like who else would know how to pilot?
She's the only one that could pilot the submarine.
The thing.
Yeah.
But that was such a weird, I don't know. I thought that was kind of a weird thing for him to say. Or maybe to just like reinforce, like, I'm not going. You need to deal with this.
I think he's continuing with the like, I'm never gonna tell you, I'm never gonna confirm what you say, and then on the previous mission. And I think he's just still fucking with her. Like,
yeah.
He does the entire episode relentlessly.
Yeah. Okay.
And that just continues. That sets up Jack's attitude toward the Russians really quickly, which continues throughout every season that the Russians are in.
Yeah.
All the way up to at least 6 when it's where they go and they're they have a team.
The whole Russian team just
even though the Russian team, like, and what's the one where they're gosh, why can't I think of the name? The one where like they all get mutated, all the people.
They all
Anyway,
die. Yeah.
and the Russian team all dies, but they're like trying to help and they're doing solid work, and like Jack is still being that way.
Hater.
Yeah. Metamorphosis. There
Yeah.
it is.
Oh yeah, but there's another one too when they're like in a cave or something.
Yeah, the tomb. The tomb.
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Which one is that?
I have a trope at the bottom at the end for this. Like,
Okay,
Okay.
we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
But that's another episode where like all the Russians die. Like I think this was the first episode with like the Russian team that the US was forced to, oh god, I guess we gotta have a Russian team now or they're gonna tell all our secrets. Jack is just a hater, which I sympathize with, but come on.
I will
man.
go ahead and acknowledge somebody in the comments earlier said it's probably a holdover from the Cold War, and that totally makes sense too.
Oh yeah.
For Jack being older, especially, would make him more
fair.
of the generation that would be like, I don't trust you Russians at all, you know.
But we can all learn and grow. We are not just simply victims of the era we grew up in.
Do we
We can do better. We can. Unfortunately, throughout the run of the show, he's consistently proven right, and his ideas are reinforced. So,
but to be fair, I still am convinced this is a Mayborn thing, not a Russian thing. I think if it wasn't for Mayborn, this wouldn't have happened with Russia, but they signed on for it. Anyway.
So Markov, Sam, and Daniel take the sub through to the water planet. Wells, you have a nice little...
It's in all caps.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is your ship. This is your little crumb of ship right here. As the sub's going through and the monitor is still functional, and Jack goes, you know, good luck with your mission or whatever. And Sam looks like directly into the camera and says, thank you. Like a very sincere, like, I'm kind of scared right now. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it was the one little ship crumb, the one little crumb in the entire episode. Little crumb.
Bitty crumb.
That look from her, like, and it's like grainy video, whatever, but she's still just like, thank you. And it's like, come on.
I love you.
I love you.
It's in the eyes.
Yeah, totally.
So they get through to the other side. They count 5 bodies in the water, which still leaves some people unaccounted for. O'Neill and Teal'c will sweep the base again. Markov successfully captures and deactivates the drone, and the gate shuts down. So we have some dialogue. Carter, Markov, and Daniel. I would just like to add in here now, episode lighting. This is very Twilight. Like
I was half
the blue filter.
I was waiting for that to be your like subtopic.
Oh yeah, I should have. Which it makes sense because they are underwater, so I get it. But it's still like dramatic. Would it be? I don't know, because it's not real water that we know of. So like maybe it is extra blue, but the blue filter is blue filtering.
Yep.
So we have Carter, Markov, and Daniel. I will take whoever you guys don't want.
That'll be Carter.
I'll take Daniel.
All right.
Well, it still doesn't explain why your soldiers started shooting the scientists who were experimenting on the water.
Or why those men were either forced through the gate or felt compelled to go through on their own, knowing they would die.
Well, the existence of the ruins suggests the planet wasn't always completely submerged. Maybe there's some clues down there.
Let's have a look. There is a jokey point where like they go through and their ears are still popping from like the pressure. And Markov says there's no evidence of plant life or something. And then Daniel repeats, he's like, there doesn't seem to be any plant life. Like he's still like moving his jaw and stuff to try to get his ears to pop. He's like doing like that whole deal.
Yeah, Daniel gets to be like the comic relief in a lot of this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as Markov tries to proceed, the controls freeze up, they completely stop, and one of the engines in the background blows. The sub is completely stationary, ruling out a current that could have been causing the controls to slow down. Cut back to the base, Jack and Teal'c are scoping out the kitchen. They find footprints that lead to a walk-in freezer, and they find none other than Mayborn frozen like a popsicle. Cut back to the sub, Snarky Daniel makes an appearance. So we have Markov. This is all between Markov, Okay, Markov, Daniel, and Carter. So I'll stay with Markov.
Yeah, we can stick with the same.
So Markov is fixing the engine in the back, and she's like, I think I can fix it.
Wait, 5 minutes ago you said you could definitely fix it, and now you just think you can?
What do you want to hear? I don't understand why this happened.
Well, given the obvious solid craftsmanship that went into this thing, I don't see how this could possibly have happened.
If you're implying that everything Russian made is poor quality, actually, the sub is Swiss.
So they occasionally catch fire, but they keep perfect time?
There was nothing impeding us. It shouldn't have happened.
Well, there's something else that shouldn't be happening. The outside pressure is increasing.
What? The gauge must be malfunctioning.
But it's Swiss.
So that was a pretty funny.
But I love Snarky Daniel. I do.
So if their depth is consistent, which it is, the pressure is relative to their depth, so it shouldn't be increasing. There should be no increase in pressure. And if it keeps increasing, the sub will implode. Cut to flashbacks of a year ago with the Ocean Gate submersible.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
This is what it feels like.
Also, that whole thing's called Ocean Gate, so it's a little like
Watergate, Ocean Gate.
Yeah.
A little on the nose.
Yep.
A little close.
Back on the base, Teal'c and Jack haul out the Mayborn popsicle. Teal'c also points out that this is how the Russians got their intel. He's like, oh, now we know.
Yeah,
This is how they got all their info.
it was Mayborn.
It's like cartoonishly evil. A vapor begins to rise out of Mayborn's mouth. Is he alive? Like, is his breath just like misty? Because he's so cold?
Teal'c's like, O'Neill, the humans not usually die when they are frozen. And Jack's like, yeah, they usually don't breathe when they're dead either.
So back on the sub, Daniel asked Markov to recount the first time coming to this planet. They came through the gate, they went straight to the DHD, redialed Earth, and went straight back. They also collected a sample of the water before heading back through. Markov noticed some resistance, but chalked it up to the gate having some kind of intuitive countermeasure to prevent the water from flowing through the gate, a theory Markov stole from Sam's research. Because Sam, like, did her whole... Yeah, Sam did her whole blurb about, like, blah, blah, blah. And Markov is like, yeah, that's actually where I got the idea from. Like, thanks, girl.
Oh, thanks, girl.
Aww.
Yeah. I love this.
And then the sub continues to creak ominously as the pressure continues to increase. Back on the base, Mayborn continues to thaw out. His heart is beating and his body temperature is rising. O'Neill calls out his name and his eyes are like shifting. We're like, oh god, okay, he's awake. On the sub, the engine gets up and running, but they're still unable to move. So we have some dialogue. Markov, Daniel, Carter. Markov says, pushing the engines harder will only burn them out again. Next time I might not be able to fix them.
And if we stay here, we'll run out of air.
If the pressure keeps increasing at the current rate, the sub will implode long before we run out of air.
I figure we have maybe an hour.
I agree. The front bubble will be the most susceptible. It will go first.
Can we stop agreeing on how we're going to die and start doing something about it?
Yeah, they're just like laying out in like horrific detail. Well, we're not going to suffocate. We're just going to implode.
So this has been Daniel's vibe ever since he jumped out of the plane.
Yeah.
He's just like, cool. This sucks.
Yep. I hate this.
This is what we're doing now, I guess.
I hate this, but if it happens, I'm kind of not reacting strongly about it.
Yeah. Let's just not like stew over how cool it is or how we're gonna die. Let's just like try to fix it.
There is a throwaway comment he makes, I think, after the whole Swiss thing, where he's like, I think I'm spending too much time around Jack. Like there's that throwaway line. So back on the base, Mayborn gets up, he begins walking around. It's like very kind of robotic, like Terminator 2-esque, where he's like laser vision, not paying attention to anything anyone's saying. And then he hunches over and begins to vomit up what looks like water. And he returns to his normal self. He urges Jack to get in the freezer if they want to live. We see the water turn into mist and Teal'c breathes it in. And he's not like, it wasn't accidentally, like this mist intentionally like crawls up his nose and shit. Like,
yeah.
So
it's important to note that like Jack and Teal'c were on either side of him and said, you're not going anywhere before Mayborn vommed up the The blue water.
Yeah.
Blue.
blue water.
So now Teal'c appears to be the one possessed. And back on the water planet, Daniel theorizes maybe the water isn't actually water. Markov insisted they wait to do testing until she got back, but her colonel was under a lot of pressure to get some results and they didn't wait. So that kind of is more backstory. Back on the base, Mayborn tells Jack what happened. The water is alive. They exposed it to air, or when they exposed it to air to start chemical analysis, it just evaporated, turned to vapor. The base personnel inhaled it, and again, it didn't really give them a choice. Like it crawls up in there, it, like finds you, and kind of like just goes into you. If it wanted to go back through the Stargate, so we have this dialogue between O'Neill and Mayborn. You guys got this.
Yeah, which one you want?
I'll be Mayborn.
Okay, cool. Are you trying to tell me this water thinks?
We were killing them. They forced us to try to take them back through the gate. The soldiers tried to stop us. They were shooting. If an infected man was killed, the fluid came out of him, and more were infected. It was chaos. One of the infected soldiers managed to get to the DHD and get the gate open. That's when the base commander enacted the EM protocol to stop it. The infected men started running through the gate, trying to escape the gas.
Why didn't you?
I was cut off from the gate room. I think the liquid organisms inside me knew the only way to keep themselves alive was to escape the gas and freeze themselves. They forced me in here.
You were frozen solid when I found you.
They kept me alive.
How do you know all this?
I don't know exactly. I just do. They must have communicated it to me.
This is the stuff that's in Teal'c now?
Mm.
How do we get it out? Mayborn shrugs. Come on, Mayborn. It came out of you.
Needed to go back. You wouldn't let me go. I guess they thought Teal'c could get them home.
So the water is alive.
Dun,
Cuts to,
dun,
yeah.
dun.
The water is. I feel like this. What is that terrible M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Happening, where it's like it was the plants the whole time. The water is alive. It was the plant. You know, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So back on the sub, Daniel poses the question, what if the water is a life form and maybe the resistance they felt on the first mission was the life form trying to prevent them from leaving? It's like, no, you have grandma, don't leave. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have her grandma.
It's like how do you know you got like you just like tore off her arm and took it with you know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
you don't
just,
even have all of grandma.
you just got part of grandma.
What the fuck? So back on the base, we're cutting back and forth pretty rapidly now.
I know. You can tell you're getting toward the end because you start cutting
Yeah.
back and forth more quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So back on the base, Teal'c's on a mission. He's like a man possessed. He gets to the gate room. On the sub again, the glass dome breaks, but the water doesn't come through, and Daniel touches it, saying that he thinks they just want to understand us. The water begins to encase him and pull him out. Markov and Carter try to pull him back in, but they're also encased. Like the water surrounds them.
Mm-hmm.
Very intentional. It doesn't just like flow in. So back on the base, Teal'c is able to dial out. He vomits up the water and it turns to mist and floats through the Stargate. The gate deactivates. Teal'c said they had no wish to kill me, O'Neill. They just wanted to go home. Teresa, again, I don't know. The gate activates again, and Markov, Sam, and Daniel are thrown through the gate. There's no submarine in sight. They just get tossed through on that fucking ramp that they need some more cushioning on. Like, can they roll out a cushion for God's sake?
Nope.
And we end the episode with this bit of dialogue. Carter and O'Neill, you guys got that?
Sure. Not really sure what happened, sir.
Here's a thought. We just exchanged hostages. Just a thought.
Fade to black. God.
Like that's like this. Like, could we not have talked that theory like somewhere sooner in the episode, just to be like, I know we get there at the end, but
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like they got grandma back, so I guess
grandma's arms back
maybe
on.
it's that the pacing of they were trying to fill this episode with so much important stuff moving forward because they probably knew they were going to do a lot with the Russians, that the pacing of the actual mystery and solving that and everything is not there. Took
a back seat.
It took a back seat too much. So instead of like instead of the important meta plot taking more of a backseat, the actual subject of the week took the backseat. And like, it's like at that point, like, why we even bother with aliens or anything? You know, like,
Yeah.
if you just wanted to talk about the Russians and them having a Stargate and using it, you could have potentially done that other ways. I don't know. Maybe that's one reason why the like we've talked about this before. There are certain other episodes where the pacing just doesn't feel like it works. It doesn't, including 100 Days. That is another one that I'm like, the pacing is really off for me in this. So maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do a comment check before we get into any discussion.
Sure. I starred 6 comments. We can start there.
Yeah.
Can you see the starred comments?
Yeah, I can.
I'll let y'all read through them because I've starred them as we've gone along.
All right.
Sarah, you want to pick some?
Yeah, let's just start.
A lot of Scott, apparently. Thanks, Scott, for contributing to the entire. Here we go. This one.
Yeah. In Soviet Russia, Stargate dial U.
We said that we talked about this one, but again from Scott, I love it when Sam Carter fangirls over scientists. And I think that the mutual respect between the two of them was like nice to see.
I agree.
We got one from Mara. What? You don't use nuclear powered video cameras? Best battery life for dog footage. Yeah, the whole nuclear powered argument.
They really did just like, it was a lot. They did a lot.
Yeah. I will throw one in from John instead, which is, listen, there are so many ways we can die.
So many.
There are so many. And I think then this is a good back and forth from everybody. And then Scott said, and we explore many in 10 seasons. And then Holly said,
So many.
1,000 ways to die in the Stargate.
Yep.
And then Scott said, Dumb Ways to Die song, Stargate edition. So that was a good back and forth. And then again from Scott coming in clutch with the comments. Mayborn popsicle tastes like treason.
Brother.
You know, John is like, how dare I not have a good comment this time? I'm going to have a good witty comment.
It's really funny. I try to not pay attention to who's commenting for that reason. I don't know. Like, I'm just like, oh, that was funny. Let's star that.
This was another good one. Hold on. No billionaires on that sub. Which, natural selection decided, oh, they can live.
Yep.
They have a lot to offer.
Yep.
Yeah. What was this other one? Oh, this is another one from Scott. I love you. I know.
Okay,
that was the video camera moment.
Yeah.
It was John that did say Jack's attitude is probably a holdover from the Cold War. So
there you go,
yeah.
John.
Yeah, John, there you
John,
go. Redemption arc. Redemption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good comments as always. Back at the top, Groove is in the I didn't know what that song was from, and I'm like, is that from Sister Act?
John, I will send you a link to my cover of Groove is in the Heart. I guess everybody will probably need it now, but it's public on YouTube, so I can't act like I'm trying to hide it.
So let's get into some like fun facts. Marina Sirtis beat out 19 other actors, 17 of them actual Russian people in the audition. Her Russian accent was so good that after the first take, she was asked to tone it down so she could be understood. And I know, like, okay, we were kind of talking shit on our live last night about her terrible Russian accent, but apparently it was really good. So
the first line that she says, which maybe that was the first scene they shot with her, is definitely a thicker Russian accent than the rest of her in the rest of the episode. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up taking piano from a Russian lady.
I did too.
I don't think it's exactly the same. You know, it doesn't sound quite right, but it's not the worst Russian accent I've heard in television by any means.
But to be fair, like if you think about the vastness of Russia and the accents, then you think about the vastness of the US and our accents. So like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
This reminds me of another series that I've talked about on here before, the Chernobyl miniseries on HBO.
I love
Oh,
Chernobyl.
that shit was good.
So
It's
good.
ranked as like number 2 or 3 best series of all time, by the way.
Oh, so good.
I just
What's
noticed
number
that on a
one?
list. Breaking Bad, I think, got number 1.
Okay. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Breaking Bad or like The Sopranos or something. But I, of course, consumed all the media I could find about it, and Craig Mazin, the showrunner, just made an overall blanket decision. We are not going to do Russian accents. We are just going to let people use whatever accent a lot of the people that they cast were like, it was like Stellan Skarsgård, who I believe is Swedish, Jared Harris, who is British. So like it did give like, okay, it's a vaguely European vibe, but like we're not doing like this terrible Russian accent the whole time, which gets very exhausting,
And
like
distracting.
over the course of this many episodes. So I thought it was a very smart decision for him to make, to be like, just do whatever accent you have. It's going to give a vaguely European vibe, and that's all that matters. And we're not going to, bore the people or exhaust the people with an overdone Russian accent or
It can
Ukrainian
get really,
accent.
really distracting, and it can interfere with like the acting of it. The actual. I know when I used to do this like Shakespeare monologue competition in high school. We would do it every year, and one of the rules was you could not use a fake like British accent. Like
That's
you
good.
couldn't do it. You were not allowed to for that exact reason.
Wow.
Yeah. So that way you're just getting the material, and now people learn Shakespeare in all different accents anyway. Like it's become a thing. I've
Yeah.
seen somebody doing Shakespeare with a really thick Southern accent on TikTok, and it sounds amazing. It sounds so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good
That's
point.
funny.
That
Yeah.
if you go too far with the accents, it becomes a problem.
It becomes almost like a caricature type of thing, and you can't take it seriously. So like maybe it was fine for one episode of this, but like if she was a recurring character, it would get old really quick.
Apparently Scott also took from a Russian lady. Her accent was pretty thick.
What is it with
I don't know.
that? We all three had it.
My Russian teacher would like every week be like, Rebecca, why you no practice? Like all the time. Like, I don't know. Let's doing other things. Sorry.
Oh,
There's a reason why Russians go to the Olympics and win gold, baby. Like they don't play any fucking games. Like
It would also give me all sheet music in Russian, and I had no idea what the title.
Why you no practice?
Why you no practice?
No.
Rebecca.
No, I remember like one time she literally like rubber banded like a baseball under my hand to like fix my thing, and she's like, "You play like this." I'm like, "Okay." I was like, and she's like, "Until I could do it." She's like, "No."
One step away from being smacked with a ruler.
Oh, she was like, "Get the baseball." She's like, "Here, in your hand." I was like, "Okay, all right."
So another fun fact, and I remember this from some behind the scenes thing, Kurt Russell, who played O'Neill in the Stargate movie, visited the set during the filming of this particular episode. And I think he was playing Elvis. He was like dressed up as Elvis.
Yes.
Do you remember?
I've seen pictures. Yeah.
Which just reminded me of a TikTok that I think I sent you, Wells. They were like, one thing about these Elvis movies is that they never show him on the toilet fighting. Like, show that man. Don't just cut.
I don't think he fought for his life on that toilet. As an former EMS worker who's worked many a toilet death scene.
Oh my god,
it happens a lot, y'all. Like we need to talk about the fact that toilet deaths they happen.
I gotta find it and send it to all of you guys in the gym.
Please do. I need toilet deaths as a different tangent at a different point in time. Oh my god.
Oh, it was so fucking funny.
He never showed him on the toilet fighting for his life.
None of these movies are brave enough to show what really happened. They just cut to like, oh, I guess he's dead.
Holly knows what's up. Death by pooping. You strain too much. You're gonna have
yourself a coronary.
Vasovagal. You'll like basically have a vasovagal response and tank your own blood pressure. And if you don't if you pass out and you don't fix it, and there's nobody around, like you could die.
Oh my god, that's terrifying. Everybody eat your fiber.
For real.
Eat your fiber. It's
I gotta-
terrifying.
Don't strain too much.
I'll find that TikTok and resend it out to the masses because that one really got me. So the title Watergate was initially a joke before becoming the official title, which I can see. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of fun. Like, it is pretty layered. Like, okay, water is like, okay, it's a water planet, so haha, Watergate. But also, like, the context of like the Watergate scandal and like
Mm-hmm.
it being like this whole political scandal and like how Earth is now in a political mess with the Russians. So it's pretty clever.
I just had a whole thought come in because, like, if they were thinking about, oh, the Russians need to come into the storyline because we want to bring up this thing, and I'm just like imagining the writers around a table, like, being like, oh, we could do a show about Watergate because, that's reference, and like, no, yeah, we could literally do a Watergate. Like, I'm thinking through now the mind of a writer being like, oh, that's witty. Like, that actually now feels to me how this episode got written, of like, how could we write a water thing to tie back into it.
And then they intended for that title to be a placeholder and just never got around to changing it.
Yeah. And then James Cameron enters the chat with his weird water obsession. Truly obsessed.
James Cameron has done more for ocean exploration than film at this point.
Oh yeah. He's very talented and has
At what?
I don't know. I've heard like he's really unbearable to work with, and like the whole filming of the movie The Abyss was like Ed Harris will never talk about that. He's like, fuck you, I'm not talking about that ever again. Like, don't ask me about it. I'm not talking about it because he was traumatized.
Is anyone truly a James Cameron fan?
I'm not. I don't think he's a good filmmaker. I think he's a good technology person and he's an innovator, but I don't think he's actually ever really wanted. I mean, that's what he's interested in. It blows my mind that he's still like, let's make I guess because people give him money that way to make the movies,
Yeah.
So that then he gets to advance his technology stuff he's trying to do.
That's fair.
But the plots of his like all the all the Avatar stuff is derivative as fuck.
It's just Fern Gully.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But like Terminator and Aliens, like that was pretty fucking. Those are pretty fucking good movies. Like Terminator.
Yeah, but he didn't set up for Aliens. I mean, Ridley Scott did the heavy lifting to set up the Alien.
Yeah.
Franchise.
And there's a podcast that I've listened to that talks about horror movies, and they did an episode on Terminator, which it's debatable if that's a horror movie or not, but it could be. Like, it's kind of like a slasher movie, but like with a sci-fi twist. But they go into like a lot of like what went on with like getting that movie made, and like it's crazy to look at like how certain movies are made, and it's like this movie could almost like barely have happened. Like the way that, or the fact that this movie happened the way it did is a fluke almost.
Okay, hold on, guys, because I just did a little like Goog, and did y'all know that they are slated for not 1, not 2, but 3 more Avatars?
Well, James Cameron has more money than God at this point. So like this is his passion project. He fucking loves water. And you know what? Titanic is a fantastic masterpiece of a movie. Like I can't deny that. Don't come at me. That movie is fantastic.
I can deny that.
That movie's fantastic.
I could very easily deny that.
No, I love that movie.
I'm gonna
one part love story, one part disaster 90s film.
That's not a love story. That's an opportunistic like moment of lust.
Okay, but the fact that Rose is the main character and like she's the one that uses the man and he dies at the end. Yeah, bye, bitch. This is my story. This is about my character development. That happens to women all the time. How many women are fridged for the purpose of a man's plot line? And we actually get it reversed now this time, and it's about Rose. She gets to live her life,
right?
But be a movie star and ride horses and shit.
No, but if you look at it classist, she's upper class, he's lower caste. So not looking at man versus woman, but in the classist way of it.
She gives it all up, though. She could have sold that diamond and been really fucking rich, but
I know she's got guilt.
She rejected all of that and everything that counts. I will die on this hill.
I think we need to do a one-off. I think we need to do a one-off podcast dissecting our feelings about the movie Titanic.
It's fantastic. I love it. Don't come for me.
You know what the best part of Titanic was? When I went to see it in the movie theater when it first came out, somebody called a bomb threat into the movie theater in the middle of Titanic. So like all of the fire alarms went off, and we all had to actually evacuate the theater in the middle of the movie as the ship's like, tilting up and everything. So it felt like a 4D movie experience, honestly, at that point.
That's amazing.
They're evacuating the ship. You're evacuating the movie theater.
And then they let us load all back in and finish the movie. So it was fine. It was great.
Yeah. I will say, listen, I'm a fan.
Okay.
I made Adam watch it. He had never seen it before. I'm like, we're watching this together. And after the whole thing was said and done, he's like, that was actually better than I thought it would be. I'm like, yeah, I know, bitch. Like,
It's fair. I'm sure there are plenty of movies that I enjoy that you're gonna be like, ew, gross. But anyway, okay, we got a few more themes.
James Cameron rant aside. Another little fun fact: O'Neill is disappointed that there isn't much room in the sub, and states that he's never been in one. Wells, this is where you were totally right in your assessment, and I was wrong. This was an obvious deception aimed at Dr. Markov, as he had been on the Russian sub from a few episodes earlier in Small Victories, mentioned by Dr. Markov in the episode, and she knows he is lying given her reaction to his statement. So that was him again, like, I wasn't there. I don't know. I've never been on a sub.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I have for like fun facts.
And this is where my ADHD kicked in, because Wells and I were in there at the same time, and I was writing a note to Wells and said, Wells, hi. And then I deleted that. And then I started to write about tropes, and then I got distracted being mommy. So what I was trying to say
I didn't even notice that sentence just stopped.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that until just now. They all died, but we won't.
Yeah. So I literally in the notes, y'all, I have trope. Prisoner exchange, which we already kind of touched on, is just like a trope that happens amongst a lot of sci-fi when we go to these other worlds and, just anyway, hostages. But then, I wrote, they all died, but we won't. And I have no idea what I was trying to say there, other than I think it was related. I think I know what it was about. I think it was about this, like, going back to, we're not the problem, but this like, oh, let's look, everybody has died, everybody is done, and and they sent a submarine through, and that submarine died, but we're not gonna die. This like bravado of like naiveness of like, or like whatever, like, I mean, that's them, but we're still gonna somehow make it out. Like, they took no additional precautionary measures, they just went through. And I don't really know what trope I was trying to go to with that. I think I also just lost it, but that is an interesting point that frustrates me a lot of times when there's this like saviorhood of like, we can do it.
Yeah, it brings up a good point to me with like the prisoner exchange thing. It's like, oh yeah, okay, we'll trade your guys for grandma. Like, never mind the fact that we made sure all your other people died, already.
I love how we all unanimously like agree that
grandma, no.
They got water, grandma.
Or it's like the TikTok audio that's like, my son. Like, father, no. It's one of the two.
It's one of those. I don't know. I still just keep thinking about it. It's just like, it's a piece of grandma, not all of grandma. Because like, how do you know you got the whole thing? Like, how do you know?
Well, that's why they got really mad and started killing everybody, because it's part of grandma.
But we're willing to just walk away from it because we're like, okay, this entity killed all of our people. But we're just like, fine.
Reassimilate grandma into the
done with this now.
Yeah, like, God. I don't know. My only other note was just my overarching. This is just Mayborn stirring up epic shit with his reckless behavior, and just like how one person can absolutely have such a ripple effect of just absolute destruction. And that's just my point for discussion.
It really is that like scheming, like, haha, what shall I do next to fuck up all the shits?
Mayborn really does have a pretty epic character arc throughout.
That's another thing. I was kind of annoyed with this. Like, we don't really know what happens to him and like his consequences. I mean, I'm sure we find out later, right? Like, what they did to deal with him.
Oh yeah, we know exactly what happens to Mayborn.
I don't remember.
We know exactly what happens to Mayborn. Yeah, he goes on an epic adventure by the end of He's last seen in season 9. Yeah.
Yes,
And
I remember that, but like I'm trying to think of all the stuff in between. Like I know the moon planet or whatever, that whole thing. There, look at that fatty.
Look at him.
he's a lot to do to help with when
Good
that
lord.
billionaire gets golded by
Oh yeah.
John Delancey,
Yeah.
all of that. Hi. I have 2 tropes that I pulled from TV tropes. I
Let's
was
hear it.
wondering if they were even considered tropes, and they indeed are. And I like the way they're presented on tropes, TV tropes.org.
Tropes.com.
The first one is murder water. It says
Explain.
if hazardous water, which is a hyperlinked, so there's hazardous water is a different TV trope.
Oh.
If hazardous water indirectly trying to kill you gets even worse, you may be unfortunate enough to deal with the extreme. The water itself has apparently developed a mind of its own. Not content to simply flow downhill, it has decided to defy gravity and pursue a sinister desire, kill. Now, obviously, in this case, it isn't murder per se. There was a different goal, but I definitely would still classify it under murder water.
Yeah, it's willing to kill you.
Yeah.
It did rack up a pretty decent body count, so
Yeah. And there's even like folklore. In folklore, apparently there's Japanese folklore. There's a creature, where is it? Mythology and religion. In Japanese folklore, the umibozu is a yukai that attacks any sailor who dares to trespass its waters. It usually resembles either the shaved head of a Buddhist monk, and some portrayals depict it as a sentient mound of water. So it exists in folklore and in TV. So that was the one, obvious. That's pretty obvious, the murder water thing. And this was what I was talking about the Russians. We got started talking about how all the Russian teams always die. There is a TV trope that is called Russian guy suffers most.
Yikes.
It says, in a given work of fiction featuring one or more Russian characters, the Russians tend to get the short end of the stick. Whenever there's suffering to be had, they take the larger ration. If the cast starts getting killed off, the Russian will be first, or the most painful death. If there's a natural disaster or alien invasion, Russia will be hit hard. Quite often, this isn't played too seriously, but sometimes it can be. They also have a tendency to be the Eeyore or irritable, especially in combination with these other elements. And when I clicked on the live action TV section for references, Stargate SG-1 is the first entry.
No.
With all the lists of most Russians don't end up so well. When SG-1 went on a mission with 4 Russians, just one of them survived. Colonel Chekhov suffers the same fate. And nearly an entire Russian base is wiped out by sentient water, and the entirety of the all-Russian SG-4 gets killed in metamorphosis.
Pretty gruesome.
Power-crazed Daniel has Moscow nuked in what turns out to be a dream sequence. In lockdown, Russia tries to pressure newly promoted O'Neill to let a highly decorated Russian colonel join SG-1. The colonel ends up dying after being possessed by Anubis. So, yeah. Stargate SG-1 is in the lead of the Russian guy suffers most trope.
Beef with the Russians.
Yeah.
I mean, considering our military consulted a lot for the show.
It's actually, I mean, it feels accurate, but it is funny that it was like the top entry. Those are the 2 tropes that I pulled out of to reference this episode.
Yeah. Anything else? Do we have any bits of insight? I don't. I'm done.
No.
I
I'm
think
cooked.
we've I think we've kind of figured out what's good and what's why, and also why it just kind of falls flat.
Yeah.
And it's sad though, because we never get to see Deanna Troi again
Mm-hmm.
in Stargate.
Nope. It's a little
She
disappointing. She could have been a real fun character to have, and one that I'm sure they'd be reluctant to kill off because she's Deanna Troi.
Deanna Troi. Potentially my least favorite TNG character, but played by one of my favorite TNG actors.
I'm gonna need a dissertation on that. You know how I love to hate on stuff, so I'm gonna need to know why.
Yeah, I want to hang out with Marina Sirtis. Deanna Troi drives me bonkers. So there's it's the vast difference, and I would say she more so than most people that you see acting in sci-fi shows is so different from her character, so different.
I would like to know more. We need to have this conversation.
Okay,
Yeah.
we can.
Does it go into like the hinky woo woo of it all? Just like that type of portrayal that she does, or no?
No, it goes more into and I think even Marina has acknowledged this in plenty of interviews, but it goes into like a lot of what the purpose of her character was for a lot, and how like she was characterized as a woman and like what they did with her with that.
Yeah.
And I obviously we've already discussed that I'm a Dr. Crusher stan. So and I feel like they didn't even give her as much because they didn't play her more in that direction. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I mean, I could go into it, but she drives me crazy.
Yeah, I'll need a TikTok dissertation on that, please.
Love it.
Start making those videos.
She's also kind of like, I don't know if anybody out there loves Galaxy Quest as much as I do, but like Galaxy Quest is probably one of my favorite movies. And Sigourney Weaver's character Gwen, she's the communications officer, but she's very much Deanna Troi coded.
Yeah.
In that like she reads the computer or she says the obvious thing a lot of the time. And it's like, it's anytime Deanna Troy's like, they're mad at us. And it's like, yeah, no shit, Troy. They're firing on us. Like what?
Like the obvious.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
That's
pretty funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
Cool.
All right.
So that's Watergate.
Woo!
We'll be back on our regularly scheduled bullshit until shore leave,
And then we'll try not to take as long of a break after the con this time.
It was we had to. It was inevitable.
That and then moving and then travel. I think
there was more to it than just the con. So
yeah.
Yes.
I'm looking up what we have next. I think it's the first ones.
Yep. If I recall
okay.
another
It is
of an episode.
You know what though?
Correctly.
You know what, y'all? We only have 2 more episodes of Sam Carter hair like this, and I am so excited about it.
I was gonna say that I really liked her hair in this episode because I did, but
I hate it so much.
We know what else hates it.
I'll have my moment of silence.
I do appreciate like how they decided that like they totally figured out the perfect episode to cut it for. And we'll talk about that as you go through, but like beneath the surface, it makes perfect sense actually.
Yeah.
It's almost like they built it into that episode. Because her hair's not even perfectly cut in that. It's kind of choppy and like weird. Yeah. So it's like as if they did it while they were there,
Right.
Yeah.
She couldn't handle it. She was like, fuck this shit.
It's too hot down here. Get the hair out of my face.
I don't have a hair tie.
Yep.
But all right.
Okay.
I think that's it. Who's closing it? 1, 2, 3, not it.
Not it. Oh, I have a cat on me.
Oh, too bad.
Oh, and then he leaves.
You snooze. He's
like, yeah, I did this to you.
Bye,
Assholes.
the cat colluded with us to make
100%. As soon as y'all did that, he's like, I'm out. All right, yeah. Hold on, I can close it. Let me think about it. Oh, I don't have a good one for this. Let me think. I was ill prepared.
You could channel Snarky Daniel.
I know, so I'm actually scrolling up to see if there's something snarky from him.
Something about Swiss.
The Swiss, yeah.
I got my hand on the button. We're raring to go.
Hold on.
It's these moments out there, everyone, that I know you appreciate most from us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just give it a second. Oh, there's nothing good. Okay. God, I'm not good at this on the spot.
None of us are.
I know. That's why I was like, maybe.
Now we know how every guest has ever felt that we've made do this.
But hold on. I'm getting somewhere. I wanted to ask ChatGPT, but I can't get on here.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, actually I can. 1 second. This will actually be interesting. I promise you guys this is worth it. Just wait, everybody.
We got a
John,
comment.
yeah, I'm looking at comments. John said they couldn't keep affording to have Marina Sirtis on.
Yeah. That makes sense. She probably did cost a lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
1 second.
Well, add
Ooh,
that to
John,
the-
that's a good point. They never let Deanna be smart until Jellicoe made her put on a uniform.
Oh,
That was the other thing. It's like Deanna Troi is just as much in Starfleet as everybody else. Why she got these other outfits on?
interesting.
But Captain Jellicoe squashed that when Picard was gone. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh shoot. Okay, I can't get onto it. Okay, never mind. All right, we're just gonna be boring.
Okay.
Okay. Oh wait. Oh, I lost it. 1 second. No, I can't do it.
Everyone do some.
I'm having a
breathing
moment.
really quickly. We're gonna here.
Do, do,
I got you then.
do,
No,
do,
do it. I can't do it. Can you do it? I
Yeah.
have like such like ADHD and anxiety. I actually really can't do it.
Yeah. So everybody, this Stargate was built by the Swiss. So I'm gonna need you to all help get this lever over here to crank it, get it cranked so we can close this iris. All right, everybody, I need your help to close the iris.